When you have a pressure area, if you have no feeling like Richard does, you've got no way of telling anyone that it's aching. You don't know they're there, you don't know about them, you don't know what to look for. All of a sudden, they appear and you don't realise what is lurking underneath that first abrasion.
I was diagnosed with this MS, and then I became quadriplegic, which really meant I couldn't do very much. And then I got this pressure ulcer, which is a terrible thing.
Obviously Richard's very vulnerable. He's got a lot of risks with his condition, so obviously I think probably the main thing was probably caused by sitting in one position and not being moved frequently enough. But I think some of the problem occurs when Richard goes to respite. I don't always know that staff receive the adequate training and knowledge that they need to prevent pressure sores in the first place.
Well, I first got the sore when I went away to respite. It got progressively worse. Over 3 weeks I was there.
Some of that is where the damage is done because of the lack of awareness. They do a really good job, they wash you, they look after you, they do your teeth, they'll make you a cup of tea, but they need to know more. They need to know that that person is sitting on a time bomb, basically. Because he has a condition called MS, he has skin problems because he's had steroids and his skin is thin, firstly. The second thing is that because Richard has had MRSA, then any wounds on his body must be really carefully looked at, and anything that needs to be swabbed should be swabbed immediately. When Richard came home, it had got considerably worse, but because there's lack of understanding, you don't know how long that has been annoying someone like Richard, who's got no feeling at all.
Well, it's looking at things like the patient, the surface that they're lying on, things like pressure relief mattresses, pressure relief cushions. You assess their Waterlow scores, so you know the risks that are involved, recognising those patients who are more at risk than others. Checking the patient's skin, inspecting the skin to make sure it's okay, and also ensuring that carers and family know what to look for as well. So you need to check that all the time, looking for any signs of redness, if people complain of being sore. Need to look at things like incontinence, so you make sure that people aren't laying in wet beds, that they've got the appropriate continence equipment in place. Again, reassess that because those can change. We're constantly reassessing Richard's needs as well. And looking at things like nutrition and hydration, we sort of work closely with the dietitian and the surgery to provide Richard with high protein feeds. And then keeping moving is another one, not sitting in one position, constantly changing position. Richard has issues that he can't use his new wheelchair because it sits him in one position, so that's another drawback. But constantly changing position, not sitting in one place all the time. Those sort of steps are vital, really.
I've got a wheelchair in the garage, which is new and is head operated, so I can drive it with my head. And that is absolutely amazing.
I want him to be able to do the things that he wants to do. He needs to be able to get in the wheelchair that he's got in the garage, even if he could use it for various outings and things, and he could propel himself, then I think he'd be really very happy.
These district nurses do such a fantastic job because they all understand the pressure sore I have, and they do anything to make it better.
Well, obviously it's had a major impact on Richard's life and all his family, us as a district nursing team. Obviously financially it's a huge impact on the NHS. We were coming here daily initially, and in some cases Richard's wound is improving, but they can be a life-changing and a life-threatening thing to have.
People now in this country have got more accessibility to wheelchairs, so there's going to be more problems unless they're made aware of it. And so I think it needs to really, really be out in the open that things like this can cause so much distress to people and so much hardship, and having gone through this experience, don't want anyone else to go through it.
My main hope is to be able to relieve my wife from this terrible position so she can live a life as well as myself.